Hello and welcome back to Shelve Your Boots. I'm Katie, the face behind Shelve Your Boots, and on this week's episode we have Stacey. So for those of you on LinkedIn and a part of the military community, I think a lot of you would have seen Stacey's posts. You're extremely active. So if you could give an intro to yourself, and I'm full of flow. So if you could give an intro to yourself for those who haven't seen you out and about on the LinkedIn social media.
Okay, I'll let you rest your voice, Katie. Thanks for having me. My name's Stacey Denyer. Little bit of background about me. I spent 18 and a half years in the RAF as police, which I know there'll be loads of people heckling in the background, but it's there's similarities between that and the intelligence corps, which again you probably might get heckled as well.
We always get them together in the groups.
Yeah,
It's always the same.
absolutely. The reason I did kind of that 18 and a half years, 19 years, was because I got medically discharged. So I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2010. I managed to serve with it for 13 years before eventually getting kicked out. That obviously brought its challenges, but at the same time it opened other doors. One door closes, another door opens. After I had the medical board saying that you are no longer fit for service, that's you, job done, hand your laptop in, you no longer work for the RAF. I was really lucky because I'd been selected to represent Team UK at the Invictus Games. So straight away, I'd lost my serving community, but then I was put into this other community of wounded, injured and sick, or WIS, serving and veterans. And it was great being around that community while I was transitioning out, because you have people that have gone through the medical discharge process before, people that are thriving in Civvy Street. So I was able to kind of, get loads of different bits of information and start building my network, really. And it's crazy to think I've been out for 2.5 years. It'll be 3 years this June. And I think I'm doing all right in Civvy Street so far. So since leaving, I was lucky enough to go straight into a job with the Royal British Legion. So my last post in the RAF was in the Diversity and Inclusion team at Air Command, and I went straight into a Diversity and Inclusion Officer role at the RBL. Stayed there for about 18 months. Then the opportunity came up to go and work on the Female Veterans Transformation Programme as the Comms and Engagement Officer. So I do that part-time, and I've got my fingers in a few other pies as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely where I sort of see a lot of your engagement on LinkedIn and what have you, with all the posts that you're doing in and around there. But in terms of like moving into that Invictus sort of arena, I know it was something, because I was injured as I was sort of leaving, as well as mental health issues, and during sort of my time with the PRU, I think it was, they were trying to push to go to certain, and I think at the time, I think because my mental state wasn't that great, I wasn't overly probably concentrating or listening or really having a thought or care of what was being said at that point. But there was a lot of pushing to do these like workshops and go away and do these kind of sporting things. Is that where you kind of picked up the Invictus sort of thread, or was it completely out of that chain of when you were sort of going through the medical discharge? Completely
No,
out.
so it was completely out of me. Luckily enough, weirdly enough, I had MS for about 9 years, and it was a nuisance, let's say. And I was deployable, albeit kind of had to jump through hoops to deploy. So I went to Afghan, I went to Minad, Oman, Qatar, and that with MS. But I wasn't on any meds or anything like that.
Yeah.
Fast forward, had a big relapse, woke up one day, couldn't move my legs. Kind of got over that. Obviously, never got back to normal fighting fit or whatever. But I then wrote a blog. I started my own personal blog, but then I wrote a blog on International Day of People with Disabilities in December 2020. That was it, yeah, year of COVID. And I published it on DefNet through one of the disability kind of networks. I think it was through the civil service one or whatever. And they said, basically I got loads and loads of comments on there and that, and it was like almost like a Me Too movement of all these other people that are medically downgraded, but still kind of not under the PRU, still working, not been signed off long-term sick or anything, but still kind of, muddling through. That spurred me on to then go and co-create or co-set up the RAF Disability and Carers Network. So I was the comms lead for that in the RAF from, I think, 2021 we set it up. One of the girls there, Georgie Morgan-Smith, she's got MS as well, and I can say that because she's out and proud about it in public anyway. And she'd done the Invictus Games, and we were chatting about it. I was like, oh, so what, apart from MS, what else is different about you? She goes, no, it's MS. You can do it if you've got MS. And I was like, really? And I think it's that thing with the Invictus Games. A lot of people, especially our generation, affiliate it to battle-related stuff. So, amputees or, getting injured in Afghan or Iraq or coming back with PTSD even. It is literally anything where you are wounded, injured or sick during service or as a result of your service later on. So as we know with PTSD, a lot of people leave and aren't diagnosed until a few years later. And that could make you eligible to apply for the Invictus Games or apply for loads of other stuff in the kind of, I'm going to call it whiz, in the whiz world.
Yeah. Because it was. I think because it took off so quickly and with almost such a kind of movement because of Prince Harry during that Afghan Iraq period. I think it has sort of adopted that label for, because a lot of the poster sort of people for it were, people that were wounded quite severely in Afghanistan or Iraq. But like I say, the reality is it could be any number of things could help you get involved in that community, as long as it was part and parcel of that service, whether it was later or during that service. And it's been pretty much said. What is the process for that? Is it almost like you've got to sort of present medical documents, or do they do like an investigation kind of side to make sure that you are eligible?
Yeah, so they go through eligibility checks, and it's different for serving and veterans. So for anyone that's interested, I'm unsure when it closes, but as of today, which is a couple of weeks before this is getting released, the applications are open for veterans via the Royal British Legion. So if you Google Royal British Legion Invictus Games, you'll be able to find the application pathway. What they require from veterans is usually your medical discharge paperwork or any other kind of paperwork that affiliates your illness or your disability to service. If you're serving, there is a DIN comes out and they'll go through your medical records to say that you're downgraded or whatever.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't even realise serving personnel could even do the downgrade side of it. I've always seen it as veterans. Again, might have been the labelling at the time when it was sort of building. But I didn't even realise even serving personnel were eligible for it. And there was actually DINs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is. Because at the moment people are like, when are they doing the serving personnel thing? Because the thing's out for the veterans. But I think it's easier. The service personnel, you've got their medical documents there that you can just be like, oh yeah, they're downgraded, happy days. Whereas it can be a little bit more complex trying to get medical documents from the NHS and whatnot.
Yeah, trying to get them from the past, especially. Well, it was hard enough getting mine, and then mine a number of people. So, if someone sort of gets through that process and they're successful, what is sort of expected after that point? Can people go to sort of areas of sport that they know and enjoy before, or is it kind of like several options that you can go and try, even if you've never done it before? What do they expect?
It's completely down to the individual as to what kind of sports they want to do. So when I did it, and looking back I do have regrets now, so when I did it and I competed in Dusseldorf in 2023, so I stuck with what I'd actually done while I was in the RAF, which was powerlifting and indoor rowing, because I was like, well, I want to be the best I can be and I know I'm alright at those sports already. But in actual fact they do encourage you to try all different sports, and we had people competing in powerlifting in Dusseldorf that the year before we started doing all the selection camps and stuff, they'd never even picked up an Olympic bar. So that's pretty epic. And same with like the wheelchair sports. And again, a big thing I had, and a lot of other people perceive, is, I'm not in a wheelchair, so I'm not going to play wheelchair sports. It's not like that in Invictus. You can get in a wheelchair and play wheelchair sports. Yes, if you want to start getting competitive and playing in British leagues and stuff like that, then injuries and whatnot are assessed. But for Invictus Games, it doesn't matter. You can have a mental health condition and nothing physically limiting, and you can get in and play wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby.
Yeah. And
that's something I took up after the games, because I looked back and I was like, I should have done a team sport. And then I ended up playing basketball for Police UK Disability Sport instead.
So it's more about the community really, rather than the red tape and chains that goes with the kind of official side of it. It's, you know, just go and have a go and actually be part of the community regardless.
100%. Yeah, it's all about empowering people to, you know, they call it a recovery journey. And at first, I was a little bit like, I didn't like that term, because I was like, I've got MS. You don't recover from it. Like it stays the same or it gets worse. I don't get better. But looking at it, the recovery journey is more how I deal with it, how my headspace is at when dealing with MS, and stuff like that. So it's all about the individual's recovery journey. So you can, if you apply for Invictus Games, and let's say you're a British record holder on the Concept 2 rowing machine or whatever, it doesn't guarantee you a space. They don't pick who is the best. They pick who is going to benefit the most from the process. And I think that's really good, because it does give people that level playing field. Equally though, people that do go in and they thrive at the sports and that, there's support there to push them into like Paralympic pathways and stuff if they want to. Or there's loads of support as well that the Royal British Legion offer post the games. So Royal British Legion are the one that have run Team UK since 2023. They have like a pathway where you can go into coaching, and they'll pay for you to get qualified up as long as you give back and, you know, start coaching the next cohort of Team UK. So I think it's a really, really cool thing to do.
Yeah, because I think, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you might have been, before injury or illness, like you say, very, very successful as a powerlifter, or, you know, whatever it may have been during military sporting time and combined services sport when it was my time. I think it's like UCAF now, and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't mean to say it's over. You can still give it a go. Okay, it's going to have a slightly different look to it. It's going to be a different level. You're not going to be the person you were, but you can still find that enjoyment in those circles and in that network. And also you might find something completely new and say, you know what, I'm not going to go back to that because that's what it was, but I miss the sport and just the community that is sport, and those people and those networks and those friendship groups. So actually I'll try something completely different and put everything I can into that, and potentially, like you say, find pathways to succeed further and further and further in those sports.
That's it. And I think in that wounded, injured and sick environment, while you're serving, I don't know whether you felt the same, like when you're downgraded, you feel like a burden, like, because people are like, oh, it's just, you know, especially if you're a woman, oh, tits and tears, or they're crying off this so they don't have to deploy or whatever. So I was always trying to overcompensate and prove myself. Don't have to do that. I can be, you know, and I am, like, you know, authentically me now. I'm in Civvy Street and that. But I think just being amongst other people that have been through that, other people that get it, other people that at once felt like a burden, because, you know, they were taking up a promotion slot. And this is all my kind of projections. I'm not saying that all people that are downgraded are like this. This is what I felt about myself. I felt like I was a waste of a promotion slot because I couldn't deploy. So when it came to that medical board, I was like, actually, I'm quite glad that I'm going, because I don't have that guilt anymore for not deploying and other people picking up the slack.
Yeah, and I think, there is a... And I spoke about it sort of almost before with Emily, in terms of you just trying to get on and be, well, I'm okay, I'm fine, everything's fine, and then it's not fine, and you get hit again and again with the not fine, and you're constantly getting frustrated and angry, and you're trying to put on this face of, no, it's fine, and then eventually I think all of us at some point just sort of break and go, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do with it anymore. I've tried everything I can possibly try. I'm trying to be fine, but I'm not. And then there's a whole process of accepting that, you know what, I'm not fine, and I'm not what I was. I can't compete as I was. I can't soldier as I was. I can't post as I was, deploy as I was, promote as I was. This is a whole new kettle of fish now that I've got to deal with. That is illness, injury, whatever it may be.
And that's one thing that, like, either doing Invictus Games or the Battleback Centre, I don't know whether you visited there when you were serving and downgraded.
I think they mentioned it, but I was completely like staring at the wall at this point.
Yeah, no, fair one. So Battle Back Centre, you can go as a veteran, and they kind of, I think it's mandatory now to go as a serving person if you're downgraded and as a personnel on recovery duty. But it was when I went there that it dawned on me about, like, there's so many things that I regret not doing. I regret not being able to run a marathon when my legs still work properly, because I've got arthritis in my knees as well. But I think most people in the forces have got arthritis of some sort, and they
2 surgeries and a nerve damage.
Yeah. But I look back and it's like, it's not about, can I do it? It's about how can I do it? And it's like, okay, I can't run a marathon, but I can get on a Concept 2 and row 1, which I've done twice because I'm stupid. And I'm going to do it again in August when I turn 40 because, again, I'm stupid and I want to get more British records. But yeah, it's just about adopting that mindset. And yeah, there's part of me that looks back and I'm like, I'm so gutted I didn't do more with my life when I still physically could. But at the same time, it's like, but I've still got control over what's next. So that's why I'm out there seizing every opportunity and, spinning dits about the wounded, injured and sick community, because there's so much more, not just the Invictus Games. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone wants to be in the limelight. Not everyone likes sport. But there's loads and loads of other opportunities out there too, which are non-sport related.
Yeah, because I think
I'll share my blog link with you to put in the accompanying text or whatever, and that's got like a link, loads of useful links for wounded, injured and sick personnel.
Yeah, no, that would be perfect. Thank you, because I think there is and I think I still struggle with it today, because I think there's 2 levels to my kind of personality. There was the military personality, but also the sport personality. I've done sport since I was a kid. Yeah, and I played army cricket, I played combined service cricket, I played county cricket, and my initial injury that started this whole process of change and mental health and everything, I initially lost the identity of sport because I couldn't play cricket. And then I went down the road of losing sort of my mental health side of it as well, and it was all interlinked and all interconnected. So, and then I left the military, so then I lost another part of me again, and then it was like, well, I don't think I'm really going to play sport again. I don't think I'm going to play cricket again. So there was like this double level of identity loss that I think, especially if you're quite heavily involved in sport in the military, it is something that you end up, because my whole calendar was around the cricket calendar, and my whole social was the army cricket, and then the moment you're done, and it was like, right, now what do I do? what do I do with my social network, with everything in terms of phys that I was, training, strength and conditioning, the winter season, training this, training that, that's all gone. And now it's just rehab. Okay, once I've rehabbed, then what? Because I don't look the same. And it wasn't, I just didn't move the same. It was gone completely, and it was in the space of like a few seconds that my whole life changed at that point. And I think for me, in terms of like Invictus Games and having those communities when you have had injury or illness in service, I think it's important because you end up finding those communities again, and like you say, it's gonna look different. I can't run it, but maybe I can do it in some other way, or give myself another challenge. And I think that's where I'm at the moment, where the knees have got that bad that I'm not going to play cricket again, and the gym and the fitness side of it has started to decrease because I've lost my momentum. The goal isn't there.
You're not training for anything, are you?
Yeah.
So I find that if I'm not training for something, then I slacken off, because what's the point?
Yeah. And it's like, I go because I enjoy it, and when I've really enjoyed it. But for me, I think there's another level now of mindset reset that I don't have that, because almost now I'm not even rehabbing, I'm just maintaining the way I am. The surgeries are done, the nerve damage is what it is, so I'm kind of maintaining. I've got no rehab or physio appointments to work towards, or that's what kept me going for about a year or so, 2 years. So I found it from going from loving sport and doing everything I could just to be in the gym or do sport, to I don't really know what to do, or I don't really know what my goal is. And and I've spoken to a couple of people, including yourself, that like doing different challenges in a different way, in a different mindset, which now has given me something to think about of, well, what actually could I do now with what ability I've got, which is interesting. That's something for the weekend. I'll end up signing up for something and messaging and you going, right, I'm going to do this. Give me 6 months.
I don't know what you like walking, but walking cricket is a thing, so you could potentially look into that.
Yeah, and I think that's where, like where I said, if you weren't like if you get, you might not want to go into. I think the problem with me is my brain is still there. And I'll end up doing something I probably shouldn't. And hurting myself, and it's probably, I think for me it's one of those that I'll probably leave well alone and do something that is so new that I can't just reflex react, and do myself a mischief, basically, because I'm a bugger for it, doing that side of it. But yeah, I think...
So Police UK Disability Sport, Katie, they you can join them, being ex-military and having no links to the police. So
really?
Maybe I'll see you at a Police UK Disability Sport event doing a bit of wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby.
Ooh. Yeah, because I probably would need... I couldn't do something with my legs because I'd end up doing something.
They quite often have stuff on at Nottinghamshire Police HQ, so I will get in touch when I know dates.
Yes, there we go. Oh, I'm excited now.
But I think it's important to say, these kind of social groups, obviously we've concentrated on the kind of whiz community. For those that have left and they've done the 7 clicks themselves, which I still feel bitter that I didn't get to sit and do those 7 clicks myself, and it was decided for me. But yeah, for those that are leaving healthy, there's still struggles. You still have that loss of identity, that loss of social network, as well. But there's other things out there that you can kind of get involved in. I mean, a lot of people, there is the Royal British Legion with their branches and that. A lot of people steer clear of them because it's, it can be perceived as a bit of an old boys club. Yeah. But what you've also got is Female Veterans Alliance. You've probably seen me post about them online, or you might even be following them anyway. And that was set up by a couple of RAF veterans. And they had their first Christmas glitter ball in December, just gone. 100 female veterans there. It was epic. It was amazing. Hopefully they'll have one again this year, but we'll see. It depends how much capacity Kelly's got to organise it again. But what they have got planned for this year, so for any women that are out there that have served and that are listening, they've got a few wellbeing retreats coming up, and a few kind of trips out as well later in the year. So their wellbeing retreats are 3 days over in kind of Powys, Wales, and I did one in September and it was really good. It was just being amongst other women that get it, and they always try and get a nice spread of tri-service on there as well. And yeah, I just highly recommend go and follow Female Veterans Alliance. For those that are not women, there's something, and it's down in the southwest, so if you can get down to the southwest, you're more than welcome. There's a Veteran Connection programme for those that have left within the last 6 years. So it's run out of Exeter University, and I was lucky enough to be a peer facilitator for their first ever women's course. And again, it was I think it was a good split. There was about 8 women on the course, and then me as the peer facilitator and a couple of the academics running it. It was a good split of like officers and rankers in there, and that, a good split of ages and a good split of service. Yeah. And it was just nice. It becomes a safe space straight away whenever you're with veterans, and especially if it's among female veterans. It's just, there's something about it. It just tends to become a safe space straight away. And it was only a day long, and we went out for dinner and stuff afterwards. But the WhatsApp group's still going strong, and there's been some really good. I've seen some really good conversations happening, some good networking. So if that's something you're struggling with social-wise, get out there and network. People aren't going to come to you. You've got to go out and kind of stick your neck on the line. But it's like the most welcoming space ever, and I think I'm probably not alone in saying if there's someone out there that is thinking about getting involved in the charity world when they leave the forces, or especially the armed forces charity world, get in touch with me. I'll more than happily have a chat, and I know lots of other people did when I was leaving. They took the time out to have a chat with me, and it's just, I don't know, it's this bond that we tend to have as veterans.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
it's a thing as well that it never really leaves. I ended up going to a sister in service event end of last year after sort of starting this podcast up. And I got talking to the ladies there, um, and it was really interesting because I found myself in a space. I mean, a lot of them were ex-medical kind of area, whereas I was, ex-Incorp. Um, but there was this common theme in within this very small group. I think there was 10, 15 of us maybe, of women that just when they left, they kind of cut all ties with the military, myself included. I was like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. Everything went in a box, went in the loft. I'm done, as if it never happened. Um, and I think that's a very common theme, especially with medical discharges, mental health discharges, that kind of thing. There seems to be, from what I've seen, a common thread of I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, and it's kind of, and it's only sort of now that I've started to integrate back into the community, and it was very similar for a lot of these women. Um, and I think it's sort of important to say it those 5 years didn't matter that I wasn't out of that community. I was. You walk into that room and you're exactly right that it's such a safe space, and it was just like, oh, I'm home again. It was like I'd never left those 5 years, that I just needed to work through my own mind and my own shit, and that was fine. And then I came back into this room and it was like no time had passed whatsoever. And I didn't even know these women, never served with them, never posted with them, and it was just so refreshing. And it was really nice to hear as well that they'd had similar kind of reactions to leaving as well, that they were just like, no, I'm done, and then have started to reintegrate back into the community, and go to these events, and actually find it a really welcoming and a really, there was just something about it that just made me feel like I'm back with sort of family again, and that warm fuzzy feeling that you get that, oh, this makes more sense now. This, I feel
Yeah.
happier, a lot happier.
Yeah, definitely. And the Sisters in Service girls are great as well. And I take it, was that the powerlifting event you went
Yeah,
to? It
yeah,
looked really, yeah, it looked like it had been really good. I was otherwise engaged, I think, that weekend. Otherwise, I totally would have come up north for that. I mean,
yeah,
North Midlands,
yeah,
everything's north for me.
yeah. It was,
But yeah,
it was
it's
no, it was
it's
really
it's
good.
such a good supportive network. Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't, for anyone out there, it doesn't matter how long you've left, and it doesn't matter how long you've stayed out of the community. You'll literally just slot straight back in, and even if you've never served with them, you just slot straight back in, as if you have.
absolutely. And the tri-service banter's always there, of course.
Yeah, always.
Um, Yeah, and it doesn't matter how long you served either. Whether you've served, a couple of years or whatever, or whether you served, 4 decades, like I know some people have. Everyone's welcome with open arms at any kind of event that I've been to.
Yeah.
And it is much the same for a lot of the other places. So I think, another charity it'd be remiss of me to not mention would be the UK Afghan Veterans Community. So that was
Mm.
co-founded by an Inc Corps veteran. Well, he was still serving as a reservist at the time, Johnny Ball. And that's one of those kind of safe spaces that I go to. And I know that, I am a woman in a relationship with a woman, and there's, people that served pre-2000, they might have other ideas and might, be a little bit more inclined to be homophobic than our peer group, let's say. But I know that UK Afghan veteran community is our peer group.
Yeah.
And not only is there a lot of really cool women in the group, but there's also some really great men in that group and great allies. And I worked really closely with Johnny on the Female Veterans Toolkit. He helped co-author the allyship piece and stuff like that. So having him as an oppo is amazing. And it's, if you served in Afghanistan, there are about 150,000 UK Armed Forces personnel that did get involved. I was fortunate enough to march event at the Cenotaph in 2024. Absolutely knackered me. I was the only one marching with a walking stick. Still kept in step, ex-drill instructor and everything.
You're better than me.
Exactly. But I was like, I'm not doing it again. If I do it again, it'd be in a wheelchair, and London's not the most accessible. So I was like, I'll just let someone else can do it. It's fine. I can watch it from home. I'll go to a local.
Now,
You know.
yes, I did it.
But it's really good. Or they're planning on doing more like social events and stuff like that as well. So yeah, go and follow them on social media. The UK Afghanistan Veterans Community.
Yeah, because they're definitely sort of, I've seen them sort of getting bigger and bigger on social media as well. I don't think I ever worked with him, but I recognise his face probably from around sort of the bazaars and what have you. Um, but I think it's so important, I think, for us on this side to get involved in these communities when people are ready to do so. But it
Yeah,
doesn't matter either. What I found as well, I've spoken to people that served in like the 90s, early 2000s, and all the rest of it, and the conversation is still exactly the same as well. The problems are still the same as well. The way they had to go through leaving is the same. It's not really improved at all, after
yeah,
talking to people, and that's something I kind of sort of say a lot, through these, is it, regardless of when people served, it is always worth reaching out and speaking to those people and trying, and going to these groups and seeing, what they're about. Just because they served in the 90s, year 2000s, Iraq, so we all pretty much have the same history. It's just a different
yeah.
geography
That's
spot that we were probably in, but it was still the same shit, different decade.
Oh yeah, 100%. We've seen that so much, and yet that again, I think that's why we can build rapport so quickly and strike up conversations and relationships so quickly, is because we've got so much in common. The
Yeah,
food's always going to be crap, in it. Whether it was pay as you dine or before when you got it taken out your wages, the
yeah,
food's always crap.
yeah, yeah. The only thing that was better was the pension.
Yeah, yeah,
All you ever get is, oh, you got the good pension. No, yeah,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
you could retire when you left. um, that's yeah. The rest of us are, I mean, it's people staying now until knows what age. They're really, really clawing on to the door frame at this point, and not going. But yeah,
yeah,
there's so many communities, out there that is worth doing. And RBL wise, I mean, I think, yeah, in the past it has been seen as the old boys club, and I think what changed my mind with it this year, I actually signed up for next year to help with like the poppy side of it, was,
cool.
I was in Aldi of all places, um and they had a table, and it was a woman. She was, and I just made some comment. Oh, that was it. She was on about how to do the new poppies with no,
Yeah,
how she does it. And I just said,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
it's a whole lot easier when it was a behind your cat badge. And her eyes were just, and we started talking for like 20 minutes. I mean, she must have been in her 60s, I would say. But I think slowly the face of it is changing, and seeing a lot of my friends who have left doing poppies as well. Um, you know, we can only sort of get rid of that kind of old boys club, unless we join the club and become
yeah.
that person that people see and go,
Absolutely.
oh, actually, Afghan veterans and Iraq veterans can, be part of this, and it is going to
Yeah.
move on with the times, and continue the tradition of it.
Yeah, that's it. That's why I'm a massive advocate of all things veteran, female veteran, disabled veteran, and I'm not ashamed to be either. Like, I think a lot of people, especially women, like downplay what they did in service, or don't come out with it. Whereas like quite a lot of men, you'll see them cutting about in like core polo shirts or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll same as you. I was actually doing poppy appeal in Aldi and Asda and Morrison's actually this year. I went around a little bit in Taunton. Sat alongside my partner, and it's her 29th year. She's been doing it since she was 11, so 29th year of poppy appealing.
Wow.
And she was like, it's mad. She loves people watching, because I'll sit there with medals on, and people kind of walk and then kind of do a double take as if, and some come over and engage. They're like, are they yours? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then other people, it didn't happen this year, but, or sorry, this poppy appeal like a few months ago. It happened in 2024 a couple of times. They're like, are they your dads? Are they your granddads? Are they your husbands? It's like, no, no, they're mine. But no,
Yeah.
I just had, yeah, there were a lot of curious people this year, which was really cool, and they just came up like, oh, what are they for?
Yeah. and I think it is the only way to keep it sort of very current. And you do hear around the veteran community people getting very frustrated, and this whole kind of we're not listened to and we're forgotten, and it's like, but if you don't bring it to the forefront yourself, who else is going to do it? So unless you're going to be sat in those public spots, or those events with the medals on, with the beret on, answering the questions of yes, they are mine, and this is where were you, and this is where I was, then those conversations aren't going to happen, and it is going to get forgotten in the long run. And it is just going to be because at the end of the day, the World War II guys, rightly so, that they are there with pride, and every year, rain or shine, doing that. And that's why it's got that huge brand, because that's where it began. But unless we start to take it off them and help them out, then it's just gonna end up going away, which is not what it should be doing.
So many people don't identify with the term veteran. So I know it's only 31% of women tend to identify with the term veteran. I think the number's slightly higher, but still quite low for like younger men. And I think it is a generational thing, because of when we were born, when we were brought up, there were still World War I veterans around and stuff like that, and everyone tends to think it's World War I, World War II, when actually there's a load of conflicts in between them, and then obviously everyone else that's served since then. And I think the definition of veteran is misunderstood a lot as well. For most services, or for the government, it's someone that has served one day in the regular or reserve armed forces, one day. And a lot of people will be like, well, I'm not a veteran because I haven't got grey hair, and I only did 4 years, or I never deployed, and they don't look at themselves in that way. So I think it's important that to use that term veteran, but also use ex-service or ex-RAF, ex-army interchangeably as well, to kind of make it more inclusive and make people think, oh, okay, I am a veteran, I am entitled to go to the Veterans Breakfast Club, know? And they're all over the country. I've been to a couple locally, and it's been good. I've been one of the younger ones, probably the youngest on all occasions, but like you said, people that are served in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s and that, the banter's still the same. The whinging about how stuff was, it's all the same.
And it's so much the same that, like, one of my last camps that I was posted to, my dad was in the RAF. He was a loadmaster in the RAF, and he was also at that camp in the 60s, and we were in the same block, and there was a hangar as you come onto camp. There's this massive hangar, and he's like, oh, they built that for this aircraft, well, whatever it may be, and it's a huge thing, absolutely huge. And he's like, yeah, that plane never materialised. I was like, so that's what it was like. That's the way it's always been. I said, like, I think there's cars in there. I think it was part of the gym and cars now. Says it's never been used for aircraft, but they built this huge thing, and the blocks are exactly the same. I think it still had the same boiler, to be honest, from when he was in there.
Same green mattresses and that as well.
Yeah, like there was buildings, then he's like, oh yeah, that used to be the old traffic control, and like, and that, that's the 60s to 2019, 2020 kind of era. All the same. Same stories. Yeah, we built that, nothing came of it. It's still there. We've utilised it for something else now. It's probably had about 5 different identities since the 60s to now, and that's just the thing. And like, talking about the veteran side of it, I think the first time I heard veteran even mentioned, I remember thinking, I remember it almost taking like a double take when I heard it. I reckon it was like 2014, 2015, even when I was serving. And I remember, I can't remember who it was, but I remember thinking, you what? Because it was someone that was young. And so therefore, I have been guilty of it, but I don't remember a time where that sort of word was bandied about before then. And I don't know if it was when the veteran badge was coming out, or something was, or it might have even been Invictus was kicking off.
Yeah, I do remember. So, the mother of my child, my first wife, she left in 2010. And
Yeah,
she got the veteran badge. I remember both of us were like, "No, that's well funny." And I think
yeah,
she managed to like blag a free carvery on Armed Forces Day or something from Toby or Crown or something for it. But other than that, it's just like she's like, "I'm not a veteran."
yeah,
But I think because of, again, my experience in transition is probably largely different to a lot of people because I had that Invictus bubble, which started whilst I was still serving and ended when I was a veteran. So it was normal terminology that was used like in the Invictus world, I guess.
yeah,
But and I think one thing I didn't realise, and I think a lot of people are like this as well, is, and I've got mates that are downgraded at the moment and look like they might be getting medically discharged this year. They're like, what? How do you know what you want to do? Especially if you're going from like police worky type stuff, and you've got fatigue. You don't want to be in the office all day every day, or you can't go out on the ground and do like close protection or anything physically arduous. It's like, how do you know what you want to do? And I never really knew what I wanted to do. I deliberately went into recruiting whilst I was still in. Everyone was like, "Oh, career suicide, you'll not get promoted." I'm like, "Yeah, but no one knew I had MS at the time or anything because I was hiding it." But I was like, "Well, this is a transferable skill to civic treat. I could go into recruiting." It was the same with diversity and inclusion as well. I'd been, a diversity and inclusion advisor, that you do as a secondary duty. But then when a job came up to do it full time, I was like, "Oh, perfect. I like that stuff. I'm motivated around that stuff. I'll have a look into it." And it wasn't actually until I did the Invictus Games and I met the RBL staff that were running it that I realised that was an option. So my naive mind, and I might be the only one because I'm thick, I might not, but I didn't realise you get paid to do charity jobs. I thought it was all like free stuff. It's not. Yeah. There's loads of paid work in the charity world, and I was like, that's cool. So obviously RBL, having been a beneficiary of them and stuff, they were kind of first on my list. And when that job for diversity and inclusion officer came up, I was like, oh yeah. But it was purely because of going and doing the Invictus selection and seeing that the staff, not only they looked like they were having a good time, they were engaged. They seemed to genuinely be enjoying it. They were really, really encouraging and great. And some of them were veterans. I think a couple of them had served. Most of them were civvies.
Yeah.
And it was just a really nice environment, and that's what led me into the charities world. And now I'm like, I'll be looking for a new job later on in the year, and I'm like, I don't know if I could go into like the private sector or the public sector. I really feel like I belong in that charities world. Yeah. Maybe the public sector, but there's something about the private sector that I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't feel like I feel like I need to be doing something good to give back or whatever.
Yeah. And I think speaking to a few people that have had either sort of like illness or injury or stuff that's happened while in the forces have all ended up coming out and at some point have ended up in a field somewhere that ends up helping others with, that kind of leans on the experiences that they've had to then give back in the hope, that hopefully other people could have a better time of it and a bit more support than potentially that they had when when they left or when you left. But I mean, in terms of like, I think it's a sort of a common theme as well that, and you highlighted it there a little bit where you knew it was sort of coming and you knew that the medical thing was kind of catching up with you, so you started looking at certain things that would actually feather the nest. Maybe that'll look good on Civvy Street, that might be helpful, that will be quite a useful skill, and that I think is the biggest common theme, whether you're injured or not. I think, and it's one of my biggest failings when I joined, is I never once thought, well, what can I do on the outside? Every time I did a course, I never thought, well, is there anything I can transfer? Is there any civilian qualification? I never did that once. And the people that get caught out, whether medical or standard discharge, are the ones that leave it to the final year. And then go, I don't actually know what I want to do. And I don't know what qualification. So you do a scattergun effect of just doing whatever you can. And then none of it's actually relatable to one particular role. And you start to find yourself in a little bit of a sort of a mess at that point.
Yeah,
So,
that's it. I mean, I think when I first joined, like there was no room to do anything like that because you were either on tour or preparing for tour,
yeah,
or you got a busy day job. At the time, I was doing loads of policing and that, but later on in my career, certainly when I got to senior NCO level, where it was more office based than that, that's when I had the opportunity to delve into DefNet, ModNet, whatever, and be like, oh, these opportunities are available. Oh, the MOD has a university short course program which is completely free, which was amazing. And I got 2 modules towards a masters, so you need 6 modules for a masters. I got 2 modules towards a masters. Then once I'd left, I self-funded the 3rd module, so I got a postgraduate certificate out of it,
yeah,
which is amazing. That's for nothing. And then obviously you've got the enhanced learning credits, which fortunately I was able to use and get a degree as well. And then standard learning credits, which I think for the first, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years of my career, I maybe used once or twice. And then as soon as I became a senior NCO, and I was like, I've got to set the example to the people that I'm managing, and they need to seize these opportunities too. So it's like, right, guys, I'm doing this. I'm going to spend my SLCs on this year. And it's trying to kind of say to people, look, you're not going to get this as much on the outside world. It'll be few and far between these. It depends what organisation you're working for. But I think, again, looking back at the career I had in the military, kind of wish I'd have done a little bit more with SLCs and yeah.
I think and it took me a while to settle when I left, and it wasn't until probably the 5-year point where I was like, right, I know what I want to do with it now. Oh, it's run out of time.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I can't use it. What a waste of time. And to be honest, looking back, I don't think I even knew where the education centre was in my career till I was a corporal. I didn't know it existed until I had to do like my manager course bit for my corporal side. And they're like, oh yeah, you need to go to the education centre and do a week course. I'm like, what? We have one of what? Where's that? And someone had to put it on a map and be like, no, this is what that building is. But, oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And even then, I went and did those CMI courses, and I was like, oh, really?
Oh god, yeah.
And then left and was like, oh, I'm glad I did these because these are actually quite useful on the outside.
Yeah.
But I think that was also when I first started to learn about the learning credits and how to actually log on to the system and use them, and it's just a very well hidden secret I found in my time. It was just kind of tucked away, and it was like, oh yeah, it is over there.
Yeah. I remember my first experience of a learning centre. I was out in Cyprus at Decalia, so Army Garrison. I went down to the education centre, so I was only, 20 or whatever at the time, and I was like, oh, maybe I should get some A-levels. So I went down there. It's like, can you help me with A-levels? No, we only cater for GCSEs. So I was like, well, I got all my GCSEs, so I want to kind of do something else. Sorry, can't help you. It's like, oh, okay. So then I think that put me off ever bothering to approach an education centre again until a few years later. And then I think I think the Army have started doing it now. There's a degree called Organisational Capability Development. Oh. And I know the parameters when I did it in 2016 to 2017 was if you were a corporal and above RAF Police or RAF Regiment, you could do this. Sergeant above, you could do it in a year. Corporal above, do it in 2 years. Fortunately, I was strike at the time, so I managed to do a degree in the space of about 9 months from start to finish, and most of it I did while I was in Minad. Yeah. So, yeah, that was really good because we used to get a Saturday off. So my Saturday, I'd spend 8 hours doing my uni work, and that was it. Job done.
Yeah. It's something I just didn't or abuse at all. And looking back, it was a very quiet building. There wasn't much foot traffic apart from our course that was going through there. And I do remember thinking at the time that the teachers were very enthusiastic, and now looking back you can kind of see, yeah, probably we were the first course that month of people they'd seen, which is probably why they were very enthusiastic about the whole thing, because it's just not used at all, really. And certain people in the military will probably be absolutely hating this because there's a lot of podcasts. I'm going, find your education centre, find it, use your learning credit before you leave, because there were people while I was serving, they did law degrees and they were given time. Yeah. They were given time, as long as they were passing tests and not being twats and just going off and doing other shit.
Yeah.
Using the time to actually, you know, revise, and you know, they got law degrees while they were in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many jobs. I mean, apprenticeships, yeah, but there's not many jobs where you can sit and do a whole university degree, get paid for it,
absolutely,
and be given that allowance. You know, the unfortunate side of it now is, you know, manpower and capacity and time, and you know, we're spread quite thin. So how likely that would be now, because that was, you know, the height of Afghan. And the mentality of, right, you've got 6 months for you, what do you want to do? Kind of came out, and you know, there was more of that, whereas there's a lot less of that now. It's more, how much space can we fill in that calendar, and what do you mean you want to do a course kind of mentality at the moment, which is fortunate. But yeah, I think that the people that I have spoke to that have really succeeded in their transition out are the ones that were always prepared for it. From day dot, were always prepared for it. And yeah, that's probably my biggest regret and the biggest kick I give myself, because it was the height of Afghan. There was manpower, there was capacity to do it, and I just didn't do it. Just neglected it. Which is, what a waste. And then made my mind up 5 years too late. It was gone. Really unfortunate, really unfortunate. But yeah, I think, you know, for people out there that are clicking, or you know, potentially are looking like medical discharge and things like that, it, you know, it is a rocky time. But like you've said, get involved where you can, contact, reach out where you can. There's so many varieties. Now, I'll put your like your blog on, and the links and stuff you've got, because you know, you might not feel like it now, but in a couple of years, it's so worth doing.
Absolutely. And I think with resettlement, I think I'm led to believe it's getting better now. It's now Reed have taken over in the last year.
Okay.
But before, it was always about job, and they only saw success as someone getting a job. Didn't matter what that job was. And you know, you go down there on your career transition workshop. It was a case of construction, project management, HR. What's the other one? Health and safety. And I think that was your little, you know, thing to pick from. Other than that, it was just like, oh, I don't know what to do. You have to go and sort that out yourself, sort out funding yourself, which when you've only got, you know, 6 to 8 months notice of leaving because you're getting a medical discharge, you haven't got the time to muck around and apply for funding and make sure the educational establishment that you want to get a course out of or whatever is on this list or whatnot. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that point. Oh yeah, that was it. Holistic support. So I think what they've looked at in the past is getting a job is success. That's part of your success, but how happy are you in that job? Are you earning enough? Are you getting enough, you know, work-life balance and everything like that? So it's all well and good. A lot of people will go into those high-flying jobs and that, but you've got to take that step back and think, what's important to me? And now for me, because fatigue is part and parcel of MS, I'm like, well, my family time's important, so I don't want a stressful job, or you know, I don't necessarily want to work full time, because then that means I've got more time for me, more time for my family, and that makes me happier. Obviously, other people might want to be in work more than spending time with their family, depending on their situation. But I'm not motivated by money, so I don't care about those kind of big corporate jobs in London and this, that, and the other. What I am, you know, what I do like, what I do thrive on is having those social circles, and I'm quite lucky that I'm a bit of a social butterfly, and I know people everywhere from different walks of life. I think one of the important things to do, especially if you know where you're going to settle, when you leave the forces, make sure you maintain or build like relationships there with people. Have that kind of that network of people there, your tribe or whatever. Or, you know, find online tribes. So in the indoor rowing space, I've been part of this group called Team Awesome, spelled OER, SOME. I've been part of that since about 2020, and they're amazing. You know, we're a worldwide kind of team that compete virtually, and occasionally, like we had British Rowing Indoor Champs in December just gone, where loads of us met up, and some people I've only seen for the first time in like 5-6 years, going there, and it's just like you said about feeling at home when we go amongst other veterans, and that felt like home, because we'd encourage each other online, spur each other online, compete against each other online. So I think it's just important to, while you're serving, happy days, you've got your oppos around you that obviously you're going to be close to them. But don't mug off your civvy mates back home or whatever. Don't mug off other opportunities to do stuff that isn't in the military. You know, get involved in civvy sports groups or whatever you're interested in. It might not be sport, like I said.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to build that home part, and you know, I've said to quite a few of my friends as well, when they're like, well, because I've had that question quite a lot with a few of my friends, how do you decide what do you know, it's a chocolate box now. I don't have a choice of 3 postings for these 10 potential, you know, and I've got to categorize them to what I want that I probably won't even get. It's now I could literally, you know, if I want to be a zookeeper or a dog walker, or, you know, I could be a reception, like, there's just too much choice. And you know, I've said to a lot of my friends that you need to kind of step back and regardless of why you're leaving now, and even though people don't really people do think about it, because there's always that 10 years left mentality, or I've got 12 years to go. You always, you know, you're counting down your time, and you're always going to have those things in your head and those conversations while you're in of, you know what, I can't wait for, you know, is the work-life balance, or, you know what, I want to be at home with my kids more often. This is shit. This is, you know, I can't be doing this all the time. You're going to have those conversations, and I think a lot of people forget those conversations when they come to leave, because it then becomes about the job and the posting. But that choice element of it is like, well, what have you been looking forward to? Have you been looking forward to picking your kid up from school every day and actually making the football matches and the basketball matches and the netball matches and the parties? Well, if that's what you want to do, you can't be working in London 60 hours a week. Like, you're just putting yourself through the same 22 years you've just done, and you're going to be miserable because that's what you've been looking forward to. So I think a lot of the advice I've always said, what do you want? Do you want to travel? Do you want the big high-powered stress job? Or do you actually want family time? Because the high-powered stress job doesn't go with family time. You're just not going to be at home, or you're going to have to move to London and spend an absolute bloody fortune. And I think that bit gets sort of lost when people leave, and what I've also seen is people get the job and it's like, right, I really enjoy this job, and then they throw themselves into it again like they did in the military. And I've said to a few people, but what hobbies have you got now? Like, what are you doing now you're home? And they've sort of sat there and gone, oh, I might be doing the same thing I've been doing my entire career, and throwing everything into the job, and I'm not actually doing anything for me. And then give it a couple of months and you start seeing photos of walks with the family, and the odd holiday starts to appear, and you're like, okay. Because it becomes a habit. You just I think a lot of people do replicate the time they were in out, and I find it. I don't think a lot of people do it consciously. They just don't. They forget to integrate with, like you say, civilian, you know, people down the pub, people in the local cafe, you know, people on your dog walk, anything. Because it's, you know, it got to a point, it's like, I actually know my postman now. I know his name and everything, and I say hello to him, and it's like, I never used to do that. Never knew who he was, because I was never here during the week. I might have seen him on a Saturday, and that was it. And it's little things like that, I think, kind of have to make a conscious effort in the beginning. With
definitely.
Civilian sides. Because it is very easy, and I've seen it happen time and time again. People just default. Right, I'm going to be at work, and I'll check my emails on a Sunday night, and I'll travel in on a Sunday, and why? No, stop it.
Absolutely not.
Stop
I've
it.
even one of my best life hacks that I started doing at Civvy Street was deleting LinkedIn off my phone when I'm on leave,
Yeah.
and deleting work emails off my phone, because I do have them on there for convenience when I'm travelling and stuff. But yeah, delete that off my phone. Delete LinkedIn off my phone, so there's no kind of I don't just mindlessly go and start doom scrolling it, and it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It
I
was one
mean,
of the first.
obviously, I logged on and I was overwhelmed with notifications on Tuesday when I put it back on my phone. I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, it's so nice not to have anything ping up or
Yeah.
just accidentally start doom
It's
scrolling.
something I stressed. I probably stressed it quite aggressively, looking back, judging by the HR lady's reaction. But when I started this job that I've been in now, like nearly 4 years, um, my first, like, what some of like my kind of provisos of coming to the job, I was like, I want my own mobile phone. I need a work mobile phone. You need to send me a work. And she's like, yeah, we do as standard. And looking back, I probably did say it quite like, no, it needs to happen. And it probably came across quite aggressive, if not stressful. But it was for that reason, because a lot of mine is work from home. I didn't want to do the Sunday night, oh, what's that? Or while I'm on holiday, oh, what's that? I wanted to be able to switch it off and put it away and just leave it. Which is hilarious, because I know at my time in the Corps, there were individuals in the Corps that had two mobile phones. They had the work mobile phone, and they paid for two contracts themselves.
Really?
And we used to be like, you're mental, why are you doing that? Now it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I should have done
Smart.
it back then. And I think one individual even, he had like a Nokia, like old school Nokia,
Oh,
what were
yeah,
they, like
yeah.
92, whatever, because he didn't even want WhatsApp. He's like, if you want to speak to me, you text me properly or you phone me. I don't want to
Fair.
be part of a WhatsApp group. And we were like, really? What? Now, yeah, you had the right idea 15 years ago.
Definitely.
And now I'm like, yeah, switch my work mobile off. I'm done. So yeah, it's crazy how it's kind of all come about 15 years later. But
Yeah.
it is a conscious effort that needs to be made. That routine has gone now. It's
Yeah.
done. Now civilian and happy integration and stories of the past. That's it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you very much, Stacey, for joining. And send me that police reserve thing.
Yes.
I've just found my
Police UK
logo.
Disability Sport. Got
Yeah,
it.
I might have just found my logo again. Because yeah, I've been really struggling with it for the last 6 months. Um, but yeah, I'll pop everything on the description, so those that are listening, you can find some of those fabulous places to sort of join in and help out, and you know keep it going as well. We've got to keep these things going, otherwise they will just fizzle out and go away, and we'll all be very sad if and that happens. So no, they have
Yeah.
to keep going. We have to still be the voices for it, most definitely.
Absolutely. And don't ever think you're not enough. I'm not disabled enough. I'm not suffering enough. So I'm not going to reach out for that mental health, because the only way these charities keep on going is if people are actually using them.
Yeah.
So if all of a sudden everyone's like, no, I'm too stubborn to go and get help for mental health support, they'll be like, oh, service is no longer required. That charity goes under. So you are actually doing these little organisations a favour when you are going and reaching out for help as a beneficiary.
Yeah, and also the not enough mentality, I think, is something that we're all very, very good at doing. And because it goes down that kind of, oh, we'll just crack on, it's fine, it's fine. And what I found interesting going through some of these sort of yacht courages and all the rest of it, and you have these sessions with people, is when you talk to civilian people about what's happened and what the reasons of why you're there, you soon start to realise you are enough, because the eyes open and they just what? what happened? You've done what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Because we're so good at minimalising it and downplaying it and saying, "Oh no, I'm fine." So believe me, once you get in those conversations, you are more than enough for these charities,
Absolutely.
because a fraction of what we've been through is just mind blowing to a lot of people. So
Yeah.
don't ever label yourself with that. And it is quite a daunting experience watching people just, sorry, what? What now? Okay, maybe I have been downplaying this a little bit, just a smidge. But
Yeah.
no, thank you very much, Stacey. And
Thanks,
we'll speak
Katie.
again soon. Cheers.
Cool.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.